Hello everybody, in this video I want to talk about Elden Ring. I think this game, considering the fact that it comes from Software and is very similar for the other Soul game, is going to be very popular among those both who like the Dark Souls series and other Soul type games, and other people who really like the theme and the difficulty scale, the learning curve and the skill required to play a Soul game, but actually restrain themselves for playing it for different reasons. There are plenty of people who just, for example, find that this type of game is just, in part of it, a waste of time because they really don't like starting from the very beginning after failing. And I'm going to talk about this specific topic a bit later in this video. There are many people who don't have the time not to deal with the difficulty, but not being able to deal with the time restrictions that they have in order to make this game enjoyable for them. For example, they don't mind continuing trying to defeat a certain boss, but they don't like the idea they need to get to the boss. It can take several minutes. And in between, there's nothing really challenging, it's just starting at the beginning and getting to the boss location, although there are shortcuts of course, and you can actually run sections, for example like in Bloodborne, but still it takes time. And people, for example, who come back for work and don't have a lot of time and they decide to game, they really want to have invest time and enjoy their gaming experience. Again, it's not just the difficulty, because they don't mind the difficulty, they actually want to play this type of games, but there's some parts of the game they just see as a waste of time, and they prefer just dealing with the difficulty rather than just spending time doing running from point A and from point B. We don't have a lot of things actually to do from in between. This is why when I read things, for example on Reddit, I see that many players who actually try different Soul games kind of get upset that they think that the game doesn't actually respect their time. And of course I can understand that in that aspect, and in this video we talk about things that I think why From Software brought this game, in my opinion, to appeal to a large audience, still bring the Soul formula, alright, and make it more accessible to many other players that otherwise wouldn't play a Soul game. Having said that, this game is not actually fall into the classic Soul game from Software. So Elden Ring is not a sequel, it's not a prequel, it's not like a spin-off, but it has very similar mechanics compared to Dark Souls 3. Now I've seen many same opinions regarding games like Returnal, roguelike games like Returnal, Demon Souls, people that, for example, really wanted to enjoy parts of what this game has to offer. They really like the theme, the challenging combat, but what actually takes them off is not actually the difficulty itself. Of course, for many it can be the difficulty as well, but if you can deal with the difficulty, well, we're probably better off either, well, be more persistent and try to overcome it and learn, or, well, just move on to a game which just offers lower difficulty. Some say that they might, enjoy it if there was like option for more casual players, so both. But again, what makes those games special, especially for those who actually put investment in it, is that the game is as it is. And actually being able to progress with it and even beat it, it's very satisfying. And I can definitely understand why people are very satisfied when they're actually able to accomplish things in the game. So when people are, maybe some people are over too excited and just throwing like game of the year and best game of all time, just overhyped emotionally after they being able to actually progress and actually finish the game. But I think most people do have this elevated feeling with actually being able to finish game like Bloodborne, for example, Dark Souls 3. This is very understandable. I mean, I feel the same when I finish, for example, a challenging puzzle in a game. I have this feeling. But again, the more difficult it is, the more satisfying the experience of actually accomplishing it. Now, another thing is that, of course, when you get experience playing the game, the more you play it, the easier it becomes. It's just that, the first step in getting into it is very punishing for players, and it can lead to lots of frustration and people just even quitting the game. And for me, by the way, it's kind of weird that, for example, when the PlayStation 5 was released, there were like, Demon Souls and Returnal. I mean, why not bring games that are even more accessible to players? So, just to bring more audience to play them. After all, we don't have 20 exclusive in the shop. having said all that, let's talk about what actually makes Elden Ring more accessible. Now, first of all, we already know that it brings many of the Dark Souls mechanic into this game. However, the significant things that makes this game stand out from other games in the series, like from the Dark Souls series. And I'm going to mention this and why actually this game is more accessible. And if you actually refrain from actually playing a Dark Souls game, but still you really want to play something similar but more accessible, maybe Elden Ring will be that game. So first of all, it's an open world game. There's no like narrow pathway, like for example, like Bloodborne, where you actually work in certain linear way. Here it's an open world. What this means is, well, you can actually decide where to go. You're free to go wherever you like. There's still the linear path where you can actually go, which is a light that actually shows you the way, but you're free to choose to go wherever you like. So if there's, for example, an enemy that you actually died and you need to feel that you need to maybe progress more in order to defeat it, you are free to do so. You're not kind of stuck and repeat the same thing. So basically you can actually go to some place and kind of refresh yourself, do other things, less difficult, and then come back and try to defeat that other enemy. And probably, in most cases, you will be able to. You get more experience in combat, you progress, you get better, and overall it will be easier challenge to you later on. And I've seen some videos of, gameplay videos of Elden Ring, and I've seen that in some situation, you see the player, for example, when dealing with big bosses like the dragon, if they decide, for example, they already engage and decide to get away, they still can get away out of the fight and just move on. So this is one of an open world, great place to explore, and of course, many players just like open world games. And I've seen plenty of time that the game Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was actually mentioned in the same breath when talking about this game. Of course, there are many things that are different, but again, the idea of you can actually roam the place, fight enemies, get better, it's an action RPG, you're gonna find better loot and, beat some enemies, become stronger, and you can continue down the road, to fight bosses at your own time. So of course, this can lead to much less frustration. Instead of being able to, forced to fight a certain boss that you just die 50 times and you just feel like I'm not going to play now the game, you can just continue doing other things and you know that you can actually progress. Now, keep in mind that I haven't played the close network test yet, alright? So, again, what I know is based on what I watch. Again, if you feel that I'm saying something that's incorrect, let me know in the comment section below. Now, the other thing is that I've seen is magic. Magic, by the way, it looks absolutely amazing. The animation, the visual effects, it's stunning. Now, this is something that I think is, it's something that is going to be really a main thing in this game. There are many players who are just not good with melee. By that I mean the reaction time, not just the reaction time, but the ability to maintain this, reaction time and be concentrated in that for a long time. Many people just get put off with that. And for example, if you play, for example, Bloodborne, you need to be on your toes all the time in order to succeed, because it's going to be very punishing otherwise. Here, you'll be able to use lots of magic. So I believe that this magic will make it easier to some degree for players to actually engage in combat remotely rather than doing it only melee. Or maybe not only melee is not the right thing to say, but the game that is based mostly on melee weapons, here I think there will be a great chunk of magic involved. It can be more forgiving, I think, to some degree. Now, another thing is that the game is going to be released February 25th, 2022 for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and Xbox Series S. So definitely they are aiming to release on many platforms, all modern platforms, so you can see that it's going to reach a really wide audience. Now, another important thing, and I actually really wanted to hear this regarding spawning points when you die. Now, this is very important because this is the thing that I think matter the most for many players who actually just couldn't handle playing games like Dark Souls or Bloodborne, because again, when you die, you start from the very beginning, and although you can actually skip parts, you need to really travel quite a lot. There are some, of course, shortcuts, but still, people think that this part is really annoying, especially when it comes to bosses. People don't mind. Many people don't mind just try to farm the bosses, try to not farm, but try to beat the boss many times, but spawning near the boss rather than just traveling for several minutes until you get to a boss. For many players, this can be really thing that can put off from actually playing certain games. But in Elden Ring, well, it's a bit different. And I already seen it, by the way, and already have seen some media outlets talking about this, and I'm going to talk about it right now. Now, the first one is called Sites of Grace, and this is basically several points on the map. When you spawn, you're going to restore your HP, FP, and heal any status ailments. But again, these are certain very specific fixed locations on the map, and they might be even far from actually the location you actually died. Now, it's important, before I talk about the second one, it's important to note when you die, all the runes that you actually had, which are used to upgrade weapons in your character, are dropped. And you can actually retrieve them by going back to the location of your death, same like Dark Souls and Bloodborne. But if you die again before retrieving them, they are just lost forever. But again, in this game, it's more forgiving because enemies might roam around and you're able to sneak and get your runes again. So again, in that aspect, considering the fact that if you need to deal with many enemies in a certain location in a very linear path, it might be more difficult, but in an open world game, it might be easier. Now, the second one is called Stakes of Marika, which you can choose to be revived there instead of the Sites of Grace. Now, I already seen this, and from what I've seen, those locations are kind of a point of interest locations where they are putting, many, for example, major points of interest in the game, like boss fights. And actually, I've seen this in the Dragon. I don't know the name of the boss. One of the players who actually play it died actually fighting the dragon. When they died, they decided to spawn in that specific Stakes of Marika near that boss. And actually, when they spawn, and actually see it myself, it was like, I don't know, like 50 meters from the boss, very close. Actually, you are inside the boss fight immediately. So basically, this means that if you die for a boss, you can just continue spawning near the boss and fight it again and again until you defeat it. And this is a huge difference compared to, of course, other games, not other, but games in the Soul series, where you need to, if you die, you need to start from the beginning and walk all your way to the boss all over again. Same goes to many roguelite games that actually people really don't like this idea. Here, I think, I don't know, by the way, for everything, but I've seen just one example for that you spawn near the boss and you can just continue fighting it until you defeat it. Right, now there's another thing is that you can actually traverse the map pretty fast. You actually have what's called a Spectral Steed, a horse, which you can actually ride, and you can move fast. You can even jump and double jump and really traverse the map fast. So this makes getting to one place to another place, pretty fast compared to if you need to walk, So they try to, solve the issues of, playing on a big map, easier for players for moving, of course, and consider the fact this is an open world map. This is very much necessary. So you'll have the option to have your mount to actually just traverse the map faster. Now there's also option to make it again more accessible and fun to play. They don't enjoy really playing alone. I feel it a bit intimidating. So there's an option for to find rebirth monument that can be used to spawn a spirit that will fight alongside you. This doesn't work, by the way, in multiplayer, but again, there's multiplayer as well, which is another aspect. You can actually, I think, if I understand correctly, you can actually invite a friend to help you out. But again, if you are playing alone, you have this rebirth monument, you can actually spawn a spirit. It has HP. When, of course, HP is 0, you just disappear. But you can use it if you're playing alone. Now, the other thing is related to the visuals. Now, if you played Bloodborne or you've seen gameplay of Bloodborne and Dark Souls, things appear a bit kind of dark, and that some people just don't like being in this, this feeling of dark, and it's just depressing for them to be in this world. And yeah, there are many players who just don't like the theme, don't like a really dark thing. They don't like, things being a bit, evil, a bit dark, but when you're all the time inside this environment, it feels a bit for depressing for many people. We actually prefer being in a more kind of a vibrant setting. The thing is that when I watch Elden Ring, I think that something swims in between, right? It's still dark at times, but also feels kind of a more open, colorful and more lively. I mean, of course, not to the extreme, but again, it's something in between that feels like a nice place a nice fantasy world to explore. So in that aspect, I think it will be more welcoming to players who find, games like, for example, Bloodborne to be, the theme and the look and, the color palette to be a bit, something that leads to them just don't want to play the game, just a bit depressing. So I think Elden Ring in that aspect just will feel better. Again, all of these things are just made to make the game more accessible to those who want to play difficult games like the Soul games, and until now actually refrained from actually playing them. So, but there is more. I also seen something regarding precise aiming, the precise aiming mode. I don't know the exact wording for it. That I think would reward player for actually aiming precisely and maybe eating certain, sweet spot the enemies. So probably another way to actually make reward players for being precise rather than just being in a situation where they need to react fast. So if they're able to be precise, they'll probably be rewarded with better damage and be able to eliminate enemies faster like that. So I think we might find some weapons that actually precision is important. We can actually play again, not close to the enemy, but still you need to be accurate in order to be able to beat enemies. Now the other thing that of course can be very helpful and implemented in the game is the map. It shows the points of interest, and of course this is used in many open world games, very necessary to prevent yourself from just going around and around in circle and actually backtracking a lot. So you know the points of interest, and you can actually mark spaces, places on the map. So you know exactly. For example, there's something interesting here. So if you die, for example, you know how to get back to this specific place. And this I think will be the same thing. Like for example, in Bloodborne, there are enemies. There not be procedurally generated things. So enemies who actually appear in a certain place will probably be there once you get back to it. So otherwise, what the point of actually being able to marketplace? So this, of course, takes us the thing that to make it more accessible for players when playing in open world games. And this is not new, of course, but again, something more accessible, make it easier for players to find different things and get to certain points in the map. If just in case you die and you need to respawn, you're just gonna take your horse and then ride straight through it until you get to this place. So having said all that, for me it seems that this would be a very popular game, both for those who love Soul games in general, and I've seen of course the community, they're actually thriving, considering the fact of course this game comes from software. Did I just say from software? So again, this is one reason that the community, the Soul community is really excited for another game that they can play. For them, it doesn't matter which game, as long as another kind of a Soul-like game, they would be very interested in playing it. So again, don't take me, in the exact word. Yeah, I'm not putting this alongside Dark Souls games. But again, players who play, for example, Sekiro Shadow Die Twice, play the Dark Souls series, or other play Bloodborne. I've seen. They are very excited about this game, and actually this is for them even something new, right? An open world game, action RPG that takes a different approach, but still brings some things that are very similar compared to Dark Souls. And really, some players actually mentioned that things that are like almost exactly the same as Dark Souls 3. Now, at the same time, for the reason, of course, I stated in this video, I think it will be much more accessible for players who really want to dive into Soul games, but for different reasons decided not to. Now, by the way, I'm among those. Although, by the way, I started playing Bloodborne, and the one thing that actually annoys me is, again, like many others, it's just starting from the beginning. It's not that I can't deal with the difficulty, because every time I start again, of course, I progress much further. The thing is that I don't like, again, for example, just in the first part when I played, I needed to rush. Well, I just felt it's just a waste of time. Why I need to rush to that point, right? Just rushing and spending time walking to the same place just feel a waste of time. But I don't mind the difficulty. It can be very difficult. In fact, same for bosses. I don't mind finding bosses that are going to be very hard until I beat them. Now, maybe there are some things that, of course, I haven't mentioned, because again, I'm not into like an experienced Soul game player. But from what I've seen, I think that these things were actually designed in advance to make games, this type of soul game. I don't say against soul games. I mean the mechanics of the soul game that are very addictive for indie players, make them more accessible to the broader audience. So having said all that, that's why I think this game is going to be a big success. Now, one last point is that regarding difficulty, is that even me, when I play games, sometimes they're so easy that I just don't get the satisfaction out of it, right? I really want to be challenged. I want games to be challenging. This is something that is true to many type of games that I enjoy playing. So I can definitely understand the part where the game is more challenging. You really get great satisfaction once you are able to progress in it. And sometimes I better spend time trying and trying than just having to, easily just pass through everything so easily. You just feel like, not that satisfying compared to, having a good challenge. So this is why I enjoy having a challenging game, but I want it to balance well. Again, either say respect your time. Yeah, I might say it like that. So I can focus on the challenging things, but not the in-between that can be boring and repetitively boring negatively. There's something that are, again, can be positively repetitive. For example, just fighting again and again a boss fight until you finish it, then just doing the same thing, like just, walking the same path all over again and again and again. So again, I don't know all the different aspects because I haven't played, I'm not into soul games in general. But parts of it I really, really enjoy. So I think this game going to be something really great, not just of course for me, but for many other players who until now just prefer just not playing this type of games. And yeah, so this is it for this video. This is what I want to talk about. So if you are among those players who really don't like the soul game series, either you don't like the difficulty, or you think that some of the design is just, if it was tweaked a bit, it would be better for you. Maybe Elden Ring will be the game that the first kind of a soul-like game that brings mechanics from Dark Souls 3 that will be more accessible to you, and you're going to have more fun actually playing it. So this is it. Tell me your thoughts. What do you think about all that in the comment section below? Do you agree? Disagree? Waiting for your comments. I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching everyone. Cheers. Bye bye.